It's May 13th, 2026, and I'll be speaking to Hedley Freake, who took part in a protest in Hartford 2 days ago in front of the Department of Energy and Environmental Protection. He's a climate activist, a member of Don't Destroy the Future. He's from Willimantic, Connecticut, and is a retired UConn professor. Good evening.
Good evening.
Could you first describe what you all had planned for your protest action and uh, and then what actually happened?
Okay, so Don't Destroy Our Future is a group of climate activists from across Connecticut. And actually, the first action we did was back in November when we went to meet with Governor Lamont. We went to his office in the state capitol with a list of demands about the climate crisis and his lack of response to it. And when we were not able to meet with him, we sat down in his office and we ultimately were arrested.
Mhm.
Um, the Connecticut government agency that one could argue is most responsible for dealing with the climate crisis is the Department of Energy and Environmental Protection. And so we decided that we would similarly ask to meet with Katie Dykes, the commissioner of that department. And so we wrote to her and asked for a meeting, and we showed up for the meeting on Monday afternoon. Our intent was, well, it would have been wonderful if we could have met with her. And that was what we wanted to do, to present to her a series of demands, and describe our dissatisfaction about the way her department is doing its job of protecting the environment. So we showed up yesterday afternoon at their headquarters on Elm Street in Hartford. And when we arrived at the building, there was a rather large security guard standing in front of the public access doors. And we said we had asked to meet with Commissioner Dykes. He said he had been instructed not to allow us into the building. And
Now,
he was,
let me stop you there. So, when you appeared, were you five people or were you 20 people, or how did it
we
look
were a
to the
little more than
guard?
that. There were six people looking like me with pink shirts on like this. We were the vanguard, but we were supported by a group of between 20 and 30 other activists who were
Mhm.
there in support. In particular, we had New Haven Singing Resistance who were making some noise, some very pleasant sounding noise, I would say. So that was the size of our group.
So you tried to go in, and the guard wouldn't let you in. So what happened next?
So we sat down. We couldn't get in, despite the fact that it was a public building. The argument that it was a public building did not sway this gentleman, and so we sat down at the entrance, and we decided that was just fine. So we sat in the entrance. The public access to the building was blocked. So that was really what we ended up doing. And we sang and chanted on the streets outside the building.
Hmm. And so you're wearing the shirt that you wore that day, but we can't. Oh, you could stand
There we
up here.
go.
It says, "Stop gas expansion and investment and invest in renewables." Sorry.
That's it. That's the
Yeah.
message, or one of the messages.
Hmm. How long were you sitting there?
About 2 hours, I would say. We
Uh-huh.
arrived at 2 and we stayed until 4. And then we decided we'd made our point. We will continue to follow up with Commissioner Dykes. If Commissioner Dykes is viewing us today, then I would encourage her to respond to our our letters and meet with us because we all have the best interests of Connecticut at heart.
So, I mean, I just want to remark, deep Department of Energy and Environmental Protection. To me, it seems kind of a contradiction because the people interested in building energy usually are not too interested in environment, or am I off base?
Well, I think you can view it two ways. A lot of people would agree with you, and a lot of people were upset when I believe it was Governor Malloy who combined the departments. I don't know how many years ago, but anyway, in our lifetimes. Um, I would argue actually that I would like to have an environmentalist in charge of developing energy strategies for the state.
Uh-huh.
I would say that absolutely, if you have somebody who understands the damage that can be caused by energy production, by the use of fossil fuels, then that would be very good. We could have a very rational energy policy for the state that did not involve the use of fossil fuels and met our energy needs.
Mm. So, as I understand it, the main concern on Monday was about the Brookfield compressor station. And let me first start off with some ignorance. What is a compressor station? What does that got to do with pipelines and so on?
Well, if you got gas pipelines, you need compressor stations. So compressor stations are sited along the length of a gas pipeline. The one going through Brookfield, I believe, goes from Canada down to New York. So it's transmitting gas along that pipeline. In order to keep the gas moving, you have to have pumps, which is essentially what a compressor station is. So it's pushing gas through the pipeline. They're seeking to expand that compressor station so they can push more gas through the pipeline.
Hmm. And
That
what,
compressor,
I'm
sorry,
sorry,
I was
what's the
just going to
name of the
say
company
that.
that's doing this, that wants to do
I think it's
this?
called TC Energy. It's the Iroquois pipeline, which is a name that has been it's not a good name for a pipeline, but anyway, that's what it's called. But
As if the
it's you know
Iroquois
it's a
are
lot of opposition to
disinterested.
that particular compressor station because of its siting, and local people, Democrats and Republicans, are resisting that expansion um, because of the local pollution resulting from it. But I would actually say you suggested that that was the main concern. And certainly it was a major concern for many of the people there. There are other gas pipeline expansion projects. All these need permits from deep, which is why we're at deep,
Mhm.
going across other areas in the state. For example, there's one that's going to pass underneath the Connecticut River, which is not the best place to put a pipeline as far as I'm concerned. And there's others. So it's a broader picture than just Brookfield, and it's a broader picture than just gas. You know, our shirts say, invest in renewables. So every day there's a positive side to this. There's a positive thing that Deep could be doing, and is failing.
So overall, what is the problem with natural gas? Sometimes you hear it billed as clean natural gas.
Yes, and natural is such a nice word. Who could possibly be opposed to something that was natural? And this is the marketing strategy of the fossil fuel industry. Natural gas, for the most part, is methane. And methane is a combustible gas that we burn in our stoves or in our boilers or whatever. And so we burn it and it produces carbon dioxide like all the other fossil fuels. So it's contributing to global warming the same way that the burning any fossil fuel will, except that it has this added part that if it leaks, and of course it does leak, it
Hmm.
leaks from the compressor stations, it leaks from the pipelines, it leaks at the production facilities. When it leaks, the methane escapes into the atmosphere And methane on a per weight basis is about 80 times more potent than carbon dioxide in terms of its global warming effect.
Mm.
So direct leakage, if you're going to frack gas out of our from below the surface of the earth and release it into the atmosphere, or burn it. Either way, you burn it, you get carbon dioxide. You leak it, you get methane. It all is contributing to global warming. And there's one more thing I would just add in that high rates of asthma in the cities of Connecticut, and those high rates of asthma have been linked to gas stoves in the houses and apartments of our cities.
Yeah, gas stoves. I have seen articles about that and so on. Yeah. And of course, every so often we hear about a house blowing up, presumably because of a gas leak.
Yeah, I mean and that does happen. It's a rare event, and I wouldn't base my climate policy on a rare event, but it's really uh, the everyday leakages and the everyday production of carbon dioxide that we need to be concerned about.
So you talked briefly about alternatives. So what's the alternative to burning things for energy?
Well, do you know what the cheapest forms of energy production are now?
I would say
There are two of
solar.
them, wind and solar.
Yeah.
There are issues. The problems with wind and solar are not that they're not reliable. They're very reliable. The problems with wind and solar is it's difficult to make a buck out of them. If you build a windmill or you put up a solar panel, there's an investment cost up front. But once it's there, the electricity produced from it is free, difficult to monetize. If you have a resource buried beneath the crust of the earth, be it oil, be it gas, be it coal, then you can extract it from the earth, you can sell it. The people that buy it from you burn it up, they destroy it, therefore they have to buy more from you. And there's more profit that you can make in that way. So that's why fossil fuels are the industry behind them is that they've got such a beautiful business model if all you're interested in doing is making money. If you're interested in preserving this planet and life upon it, then it's a lousy business model.
So final question. How would you overall rate the legislature and governor in their work against pollution and for the climate?
Well, every year we have a legislative session. This year was a short one, and and it starts with hope. It starts with some good legislators and groups around the state proposing some excellent climate bills. Um, and a few things emerge. So we did pass a solar bill this year that will um, it'll actually just re-up existing solar support programs. It also will allow balcony solar people to buy. If you live in an apartment, you don't control what goes on your roof, but you can buy a balcony solar panel and plug it directly into an outfit. So that is going to take a little while to work its way through, but that's a good development. But there were two other bills I'll just mention. One was the Environmental Rights Amendment that people have been working on for a number of years. This would be a very useful thing to have. It says that everybody has a right to clean air, clean water, a sustainable environment. A couple of states already have that, and it's been very useful in those states for supporting climate goals. That was proposed. It was voted out of committee with good language. it never was brought to a vote in either the House uh, or the Senate. Similarly, there was a Make Polluters Pay bill, which would charge fossil fuel companies, the people that are making a profit from the destruction of our environment, it would it would cause them to require them to pay for the damage that they have been causing. It was passed, a similar bill was passed, I guess, 2 years ago now in New York City, in New York State. Um, Both of those have been very useful things. That also did not, and again, emerged from committee, was not voted on in either House or Senate. But the point that I would like to make and to emphasize our action on Monday was that when asked about these particular initiatives, the Commissioner of the Department of Environment, Energy and Environmental Protection declined to comment.
Mm.
So why would the Commissioner of the department charged with protecting our environment not support the right of people of Connecticut to have clean air and water? Why would the Commissioner of the Department of Energy and of Energy and Environmental Protection not um, uh, be be enthusiastic about a bill that would produce funds for the state to mitigate the effects of climate change?
Mm. And it's not like we have all the time in the world. The UN has been warning us for years now that we're risking to going over tipping points and
Yes,
really going into a permanent calamity.
yes. And you know it's tough. We have a federal government now that is accelerating the problem. They're
Right.
literally throwing gasoline on the fire. And so there's, we have to, that's the reality. But this too will pass. And meanwhile, Connecticut can be acting to do what we can in our state to make progress on these issues.
Well, thank you very much for this interview.
Well, thank you for inviting us. We appreciate your coverage.